Hello everyone, I'm Joe, and I'm the ToasterPhreak. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Toastmaster 1A1 toaster, which was the first pop-up toaster made for home use. There were already pop-up toasters for commercial use. These are put out by the Waters Genter company, and they were about $26 when they first came out, which was very, very expensive. And I set this timer too short, so I'm just going to change it a little bit. You can see it's partially toasted anyway. These toasters were a little more difficult than more modern toasters to manage. See? The hotter the toaster is, the faster it will toast the bread. Well, this one started to toast. But basically, you would have to learn how each toaster needed to be set, and then give it a dry run, because it'll run just fine with no toast in it. And heat it up, and then put your toast in for the right amount of time. But since I haven't used these things in some time, I really don't know what that time is. So I've got to experiment with it a little bit, just as though they weren't. Now you can see this is a fine looking piece of toast. And this is what I did with the 1BB4. You can see it just pulls apart. Inside, this is soft. If you press it, it's even sticky. It is a really, really good toast. This is fully toasted, a little bit on the dark side for my taste. And again, you can just pull it apart. It's sticky on the inside. And to my thinking, this is your perfect kind of a toast to have. Now they made a few different versions of this. When they started making this, they made them with no serial numbers for about the first 50,000 or so. I have no idea if they had accurate records or not, but these tags on the front, on these two, don't have any serial numbers, so we know that they're very early ones. Now this one, in the little handles here, it has little dots, and you'll find that dot in the handle in all of the newer ones, all the ones that have serial numbers. You might be able to see that this tag is dark. It's a black background. This tag is red. The oldest ones were red, and the very oldest ones don't have any dots. This one has no dots. For all we know, this could be the very first one off the line. That's not very likely, but it is likely that it was made in 1926, which would make it one of the oldest toasters out there. Something like 85 years old, and it still works the way it did when it came out of the factory. If your toaster came from Walmart, in 85 weeks you probably have a new one, and you don't miss it one bit. The feet on these are very fragile, and you can see this is completely missing one. It was a very make-do kind of thing that they did. It's just the way that they did it. It was very cheap, and they had to make it as cheap as possible so that people could buy it. That was an awful lot of money. In fact, they did not make a two-slice version of this, which would have been the 1B1, simply because it was too expensive. They did make a few prototypes, and they look pretty neat. Now this one, you can see that some enterprising individual actually forgot about the feet, and he changed them to this. And it would have been neater if these nuts had been acorn nuts so that they weren't raw on top, but it does give it feet all the way around. I've kept mine the way that it is because of, well, that's the way they made it, and for the moment that's the way I want it to be. This model is pre-chrome, and what you see here is nickel plating. Nickel is very distinctive once you get used to seeing it. It doesn't look very much like chrome. It doesn't have the protective power of chrome. You can see a lot of spotting in it where rust has happened over the years. Smudges get on it. It is sort of stainable, it seems, because it's really difficult to clean. And besides which, you don't really want to scrub real hard on one of these things. This gathers dust in places that are inconvenient, these vents on the side. But regardless of everything about it, it's still a really excellent toaster and makes perfect toast. This doesn't have anything to regulate the speed of the clock. So you use this little stud here, which you pull out and you move in these little serrated notches, and you set it to the appropriate place, and that's your memory of where to set the toaster. And of course, you might have been saving time or saving power, and so you set it to where it worked when it was cold, and then when you tried to make your second slice of toast, it wouldn't work correctly. It'll also make a difference if it's winter or summer. Everything makes a difference with this toaster, and so it's a little trickier to get your toast to come out perfect. Nonetheless, it's rather enjoyable if you set it, this being a timer, and then that is the contact. If this was a darkened room, you could see a flash out the side as these contacts came together. And the contacts are about the size of the end of my little finger, and they come together. At 85 years, they show no wear. I'm confident that they would last maybe 850 years. Now, if you decide that your toast is getting too dark, you just cancel it with that little stud there. But the timer will just keep going. It doesn't immediately reset, which doesn't bother anything. That's about all that I know about these. Maybe somebody else can come up with some more commentary. But for now, that's the Toastmaster 1A1 toaster. Thank you.